Hello there. It is Tuesday, just a couple days before Thanksgiving. I thought I'd talk to you again real quick. I want to talk today about customer service and your role in it to some extent. This past week, let me go back and preface a bit. I own a house in Texas. When I was in the Air Force, I lived on the border and I bought a house. Uncle Sam moved me out of there up to here to the Midwest, the Kansas City area. But I still got the house down there. I couldn't sell it because the market went to crap right after, or right about the time that I left. So I've had renters. Luckily for me, I've had renters since pretty much since I moved out of that house. Renter's call last week says that the shower, the master shower in the main bedroom, was leaking. So I've been under contract with the company in Texas since 2010. I pay them like $20 a month, and that's supposed to give me a discount on services, priority. You know, if I call and need work done, all that kind of stuff. It's nice to kind of have them in theory at my beck and call. And they don't just do plumbing; they do electrical, they do HVAC stuff. That's air conditioning and heating, all that kind of stuff. So anyway, my renter calls me, says, "Hey, we've got a problem. Shower is leaking pretty bad. You know, it's becoming an issue. It's not just a drip; like it's significant water coming out. That's obviously going to cost some money on their water bill if it doesn't stop." Well, you want to keep your renters happy. It's like a business. If I don't have happy renters, then they're going to look elsewhere, and then I'm stuck paying a mortgage on my own, and no one wants that, obviously. Much as I'd like to sell the house, I can't right now. So I want to keep renters in it and keep them happy. And we've had a pretty good relationship with our renters, and I don't think they would hold this incident against me. And I believe I made it right, which I'll talk about. But I call this company up and get some crappy treatment from the after hours service. It's not the company, they go to an answering service after hours. So didn't like how it was treated at first. Was told that they would come the next day at 5. They didn't show up until 7 something later. Mind you, that my tenant has already rearranged their schedule to adjust accordingly. They said there's not much we can do about it right now. We'll come back tomorrow, which would put it to Thursday. Thursday they show up, go, yep, it's still leaking, and they don't fix anything at all. They say that they'll be back on Friday. So that's day 2 now that my tenant has had to change everything in their schedule. Come Friday, my tenant had to go to San Antonio, which is about a 3-hour drive from where the house is, to pick up their daughter. Crew shows up, starts work, and then just abruptly leaves. Doesn't really give her much info as to where they're going, when they'll be back, what's going on. So she sits around and waits. They finally show back up, get the work done, but now she's an hour behind schedule. In the process of all that, they had just pushed a lot of her stuff around on the counter. She had some designer sunglasses and stuff that got scuffed up a bit, and just left her bathroom in a mess essentially. And on top of that, it had been raining down there, and they were working in and out, coming in and out. They tracked mud into the house. They tracked mud on the rugs. There was mud in the shower. And this company, which I'll touch on more in a little while, they tell you that they pride themselves on leaving your home better than when they arrived. You know, that's one of their goals, one of their guarantees even. So I get this call. I've got an angry tenant now. The situation was somewhat resolved, but now they've got water pressure issues. So I'm angry because my tenant's angry. You know, like I said, we've got a good relationship, and they pay their bills on time. I haven't had any real significant issues with them. I try to take care of them as best I can because that's how I would like to be treated. So on Sunday, I sent a message through their website uh, saying that I need plumbing help. The reason I did that was because I wanted to catch them kind of off guard. I didn't want them to have any preparedness. They call and say, "Hey, I got this message that you need some plumbing." Well, the plumbing issue was in my tenant's name down there, so they didn't immediately associate it with mine. So I tell them, you know, I've got an issue. I hired you guys for some plumbing work, and it was subpar. And I kind of go into it a little bit, but the guy who calls me is basically a worker bee. And I try to avoid I don't mean that in a disparaging term at all. But when I say that, I try not to attack. I don't even know if attack's the right word, but I try not to get into debates and arguments and heated discussions with the person that just happens to answer the phone. You know, it's like if you're having trouble with your cable, you call the cable company, you got somebody that answers the phone that's probably not even in your state or not even in your city, and then you start jumping their ass because the cable's out everywhere in your city. There's nothing that guy or gal answering the phone can do about it, so why jump their ass? Sure, you're displeased, but you need to talk to someone who is responsible or who can make that change, whatever it may be. So I let them know I was displeased, and I let them know that I wasn't paying a bill until I discussed this with the owner of the company. I didn't want to talk to a supervisor. I want to talk to the owner. Sure enough, the owner calls me yesterday. He immediately apologizes, and he says a few things which let me know that he'd already talked to his employees and that my concerns weren't unwarranted. So I preface this conversation by telling him, when I first got service with you guys, and I had to get a whole line replaced from my house to the sewer because of issues. It completely cracked. That was a big deal. They had to dig up the entire yard and put the new line in. At that same time, I went ahead and got a new air conditioning unit, heat pump, a new blower. I spent a lot of money with this company, okay? A lot of money with them. And then I figure I paid over $1,000 in monthly fees, and I haven't really used the service. Not that I expect them to go, well, you know, he's been paying me all this money, we better kiss his ass. No, but I just want them to understand I have been a loyal member. And I started the conversation with the owner by acknowledging past work and the professionalism that crews have done in the past, and that how I was just essentially shocked over the night and day difference between the service I had conducted 4 years ago and the service that my tenant's telling me about now. He was very understanding. He was very apologetic. Previous to that, what I did, and I would suggest this to anyone, is I wrote down everything that the tenant had told me. I put my own thoughts out, so I kind of had a timeline. And I basically had that in front of me when I was talking to him on the phone. And I didn't read it verbatim because no one wants to read, you know, a page-long diatribe of bitching, moaning, and complaining. But I kind of went down bullet points, and I pointed out what I thought were key issues. And he acknowledged, he told me, hey, there's been issues with the answering service. I'm working to fix those. I'm very sorry. He acknowledged that based on his communication with his crew, which I knew any good manager, leader should speak to their employees prior to coming to the person who's complaining, I think. That way you can get their side of the story as well, because for all he knows, I could be full of shit. You know, I used to get with my troops whenever I heard a complaint from commanders or otherwise when I was in the Air Force. I would say, you know what, can I call you back on this? Because I wanted to go to the troop and get their explanation from it. I wanted to go and pull any checklists they may have run. If it was a heated situation, I could pull telephone recordings. I wanted to give myself as much ammunition to possibly defend my people if need be, than just go in later and accuse them, then to find out like, oh crap, I jumped their butts for nothing. So it's all a fact-finding thing, which it seems like he did, because he told me some things, and our versions didn't match up perfectly, but they were pretty close. And like I told him, you know, I'm getting information from someone who's angry. I've got a tenant that's angry, who's coming to me in anger. So their version may be a little bit off in the heat of the moment, though they may have said things. So I don't expect everything that I'm relating to you to be 100% accurate, but it should be fairly close. And he agreed with me, and he told me, you know, he actually thanked me. He said, you know, I really appreciate you coming to me with this issue. He's like, I take pride in my business. I've had it for 30 years. I make a good living with it, and the reason I make a good living is because of people like me that pay him money and continue to give them the business. And he told me he didn't want to lose me as a customer. I never threatened, and that's what I told him too. I said, I'm not one to threaten, like, I'll never work with you again. I'm going to tell everyone how horrible you are. I'm going to write a nasty review on Facebook or whatever crap people do. You know, I wanted to come to him, and like I told him as well, I want to give you the opportunity to fix this. I want everyone to come with the best possible outcome. I'm not trying to get over on you. I just want this done right so you can use this as a training experience. You can make corrective actions, and everyone's happy. And he agreed wholeheartedly. He told me, there are times down there in Texas where he doesn't ever hear anything. So he thinks everything's going great. And then he'll be out at dinner or something with his family, and some pissed off person that he's dealt with in the past or his company's dealt with in the past will recognize him because he's got his face and his picture up with all his advertisements, which are plenty down there in Texas, because he wants to put his face out there. He wants people to know that he is behind his business, and I admire that. But he says he'll be at dinner and people just come up and read him the riot act and how crappy that this was and that was months after the fact, before he can fix anything. So he was happy that I told him about this, and he told me, he's like, you know what I'm going to do? First, I'm going to fix the issue with your tenant. I'm going to call her as soon as we hang up here. I'm going to apologize to her and get some more info from her. Then I'm going to schedule with her to go over and fix water pressure issues that are left behind. Once all that's resolved and all of us are happy at that point, I'm going to call you back, meaning me, and we're going to go over that invoice. And we're going to see what kind of deals we can cut you, because I don't like that you and your tenant had to rearrange things in their lives, especially over a 3-day course. And like I told him too, the amount that was quoted was several $100s, and it felt like it was a bit exorbitant. I'll pay for fair service and parts. I have no problem with that. But if you're going to pay or charge me for labor over 3 days when you only did really 2 hours of work, that's not going to fly well. So he was happy, and like he told me, and like I want to tell you now, you need to give people the opportunity to fix problems. Shit happens in this world. So what you need to do is, when there is an issue, talk to a manager. Pick up the phone and call. Don't just sit there and go on Facebook and write, a subliminal status update complaining about it, or a tweet, or what have you. There are times when tweets are very valid and work. You can get responses sometimes, but you need to follow up. Don't just sit on it. If you're paying for something and you're not getting what you're paying for, you need to remedy that, and you need to give the company a chance to remedy that. Like I told some other people, I'm actually very happy right now that this happened, because it's given me a better relationship with my renters, because they know I'm going to take care of the issue. It's given me a better relationship with this company that I'm under contract with, because I know that he's going to listen to me, and he's going to fix that. As a matter of fact, what he did yesterday was he gave me his personal cell phone. He said, please don't call me if you're just doing a service request. Call the number, which I totally get. But if a situation arises and it's out of the scope of the normalcy, I want you to call me directly and let me know, and I'm going to fix it. And that's very admirable. Not a lot of people would do that, especially someone that owns a business that makes millions of dollars. It's not like it's just some guy that makes 50 grand a year. This guy's been around for a long time and has a lot of companies and people that he works with in multiple cities in the area. So it was good to talk to him. Before I ramble on too much, I just want to drive home the point. If you have a problem with customer service in any way, shape, or form, get it fixed. Don't just complain about it. Pick up the phone, go to the office, whatever you need to do, and talk to someone in charge, not the person that's answering the phone or at the desk or the server that brings you the meal that's cold. The server didn't want you to have a cold meal. I guarantee you. They don't want to deal with that. So do what you can to get it fixed, because if you don't, the only person you can really blame is yourself, So don't just be content with whatever or just roll over. Stand up and say something. Get your problems fixed. Have a happy Thanksgiving. I hope you have a great meal and a great time with your families and friends. That's what it's all about. I'll be keeping it low-key this year, which will be the first time in many years. But I want you all to have a great Thanksgiving. Thanks for listening to me, and until next time, I'm Pam.